Jai Hind everyone. I Rahul welcome you all in the webinar on SSB experience sharing, organized by the SSB Club under Training and Placement Cell of Guru Jambheshwar University of Science and Technology. We feel very pleased to welcome Mr. Ankur Yadav, All India Rank 49 in NDA 148, and Mr. Parun, All India Rank 201 as our speakers for today's webinar. So I welcome Mr. Parun to take the charge for the meeting, sharing his experience of the selection of SSB.
Parun, you can start from written preparation, then how you cracked your SSB interview. That you can start from there.
So friends, coming to my motivation to join the army. So I belong to a village background. So here in the village, every student or the children who passed its 12th class or 10th standard has the aim or the more well-being to join the army. So there is always a surrounding or the motivation to join the army. So I also naturally got motivated to join army from there, and also got influenced by the social media. Like all we get influenced by the very enchanted by the uniforms that the defense forces have. So firstly, I don't know about the NDA till my 11th standard. In my 11th standard, I got to know about NDA. But in 11th standard, I was not very much serious about it. I took it as a usual. So in my 12th standard, I gave my first NDA attempt, that is the September attempt. But I have not prepared anything for it. I went as usual as my friends were going, and I have already filled the form. So I went as usual without the preparation. So that result was expected. I could not clear the NDA in the very first time. So, and that hits me hard. And then I realized that I have to buckle up and work more hard. So then it was also the time of the lockdown. So I took the online coaching from a platform, an academy. From there onward, I prepared for the written, and it took me about 3 to 4 months to prepare fully for the ND exam. As the COVID lockdown period was going on, so my maths basic concepts were not also very clear. So I have to brush up them also because they were not very well taught at my school this itself. So then I cleared my NDA attempt. That is the second one, NDA second. Then I got my SSB at the SSB Allahabad. In the very first attempt in the SSB also, I got screened out because I don't have any exposure or well-maintained society or community that was also aiming for the same thing. So, in the first attempt, I also didn't had a coaching. So in my and when I got the screen out, so then I thought that I self-analyzed, and I also found that I am some type of introvert type. I am not able to interact because in my first SSB where I got screened out, the main reason I analyzed was that I could not take much participation in the GD because I remained silent throughout the GD, and I was not able to put forward my views. So in the second attempt, then I again prepared for the NDA exam for the written. I again cleared it, and the next time I went for the coaching, and the purpose for going to the coaching was only to become me more social, because I was not very much social as I was staying at the home for the past 2 years because of the COVID lockdown, and so that was I don't have very much interaction with the other people. So there I spent some days, and I was open up to the people. Also, we discussed many stories, and we were exposed to the different GD and the situation that we can get into the GD. So in this way, I prepared for the SSB. There also I got to know about the different procedure, that different tests that are being to be scheduled in the SSB interview. From there on, after coming from the coaching, I also prepared some of the psych tests or practiced them at the home, prepared the lecturates, and also brushed up my knowledge about the current affairs and the geopolitical situations. So as a result, I went to the SSB at the 31 SSB Kapurthala, from where I got recommended.
So that was very nice. Now I request to Ankur, please share your experience. Before you share, I want to tell one more thing about him. that he was just 12 studying and he cleared the NDA written exam as well as he cleared the SSB. And it was, being a fresher, it was the first time for him. So it'd be very nice to listen from him that how he proceeded. Please, Ankur, over to you.
Thank you, Lilith. It's a pleasure being here. I was in class 12, and as you heard Lalit say, basically I cleared the NDA 2 2021 in November. The exam was held on November 14th. Starting with the written, I did not prepare much in the short term for written, but my preparation was more long term. I had been taking coaching on an academy for IIT JEE since my class 11th, online only. So my math was pretty good after that. And for English, I had been reading books as a hobby and watching English movies, English web series. So that helped me a lot in English. And SST, I didn't prepare much, but my English, maths, and science covered because I was a non-medical student. So that helped. And my written was cleared. So basically, for written, I integrated the NDA written preparation with my class 12 preparation and IIT JEE preparation, and that helped me a lot. After I got my result of NDA written in around mid December, immediately within 15 days, went for coaching for my SSB. It was, in my case, necessary because I was a bit shy also and introverted in nature. So it helped me. And then I took coaching from Olive Greens, Chandigarh, and the 2 weeks that I spent there helped me familiarize with the SSB tests and the various procedures. A lot. The psych test I practiced there, the GTO structure that I did in the GTO ground. I could think more clearly and I was very confident. The first PPDT screening that was held there, I still remember I couldn't speak a word in the GD. And the first thing that the assessor told me was that you are going to get rejected if you stay this point. So I started speaking and participating in the GDs, writing better psych. I was writing very bad, you can say, stories. And then I gradually improved my story writing process, how I wrote words, how I tackled SRTs. My mock interview helped me analyze my weaknesses. Then after I came back from my coaching, I worked on the things I found out that were basically impacting my abilities to clear the SSB. And I worked on them. I started reading newspaper daily, the Tribune, and I took a lot of military knowledge as I was from complete civilian background. I have no family background in army, and that was a problem because didn't have much military knowledge as many kids do. That even the basic things were not known to me. So I took a lot of military knowledge, current affairs, and general knowledge. I worked on my physique after coming back from coaching. And then I went on to 32 SSB Kapurthala on 2nd April, after which I got recommended on 6th April. I couldn't clear the medicals, but it was a great experience.
It was nice to listen from you, Ankur. Now, like we will be having a question answer like session. I will give you some questions that are based a very general question that basically related to stage 1 and stage 2 of SSP. And I would be interested knowing both of your views and suggestion that we should do. So the first question is PPDT and OIR.
Just a second, Lalit. Sir, can you please, in brief, tell us about your experience in SSB, like from screening to till you get recommended, please?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. On the day the viewer came first, the OIR was held. I was always obviously a lot nervous on the first day. And when the OIR was held, I had good practice of OIR. I had done OIR 4 5 times, so it was not that difficult. Of the second exam was a bit difficult in my batch, and I got a bit nervous. But then I thought that if it's difficult, it would be difficult for everyone. After that, I just forgot the OIR and saw the picture. The picture was like two people discussing, so I put a story of around an employee creating a project for the boss, and I basically added a lot of actions in the story that made them worthwhile. The narration part was also easy because there was a lot of people in my group, around 15 people, and all were freshers. I was a fresher too. It was my first attempt. And when I was there, one of the guys who was misleading the crowd, basically, he was saying that in the GD, we should speak one by one. First, he will speak, first, he will speak. And the freshers, most of them were getting confused due to it. When the assessors came and the narration started, I did the narration. It was normal, I'd say. The narration narrated almost the entire story, exact as I had wrote it. And then when the GD was about to start, because he had said that first the first test number one was speak. Everyone was reluctant to speak, and I spoke up first and initiated the GD. I participated in the GD, and the turn for story of the group came out. One of the guys recommended that same person to speak, so I didn't, object it, and he spoke something that was out of discussion because discussion wasn't fruitful in the RGD. It was like just a fish market. After that, I was pretty confident that I'll get screened because I had done good. I was expecting, and then I got screened in. The next day, psych, I was in a good mood. That was the key, I guess, because I did my psych pretty well according to me. I was satisfied by my psych. All the pictures were coming up. I didn't discuss my stories during the break. That was also very key for me. As after stories, there was a short break. Everyone was talking, and I was just focused on myself and keeping my inner calm and peace of mind. After that, the words and SRTs came. I prepared myself description myself. I had prepared it, but I hadn't copied it from somewhere. I had wrote it down on my own and then just memorized it so that it would be written in a short period of time. After the psych, I was happy that my psych had gone well. Then in the GTO ground, my first GD was not very good, but I stick to the basics of GD, like keeping to the topic, sticking to the topic, keeping the one you are advocating for, and just speaking about it, not speaking gibberish. And after that, with the more the tasks, I gained more confidence in group discussions. I was a bit shy. People were not letting me speak in the GD, but I was making the point just enough so that they would not harm me, but not speaking too much and dominating the group. The GPE was easy because I had practiced 2 to 3 GPEs in during my coaching time, and the lecturate was held on second day. The group tasks were fairly easy because I had prepared for them practically in the GTO ground during my coaching time, and I was thinking. Basically, my thinking process had been developed very nicely during my coaching, so these were easy. The FGT and the PGT and the HGT. During the PGT, the first obstacle that I couldn't, execute. I had the idea, but I couldn't execute it on the ground. So that slashed my confidence. But during, I think, third one during the PGT, my group got stuck. They couldn't do anything. And then I got the idea and I took my group forward from the third and the fourth. I almost gave there was me and another guy who gave all the ideas for the third and fourth. They were a bit difficult. I was just doing my work, indulging in the group activities, but not giving any much ideas during the first and second one during PGT. Similar was with HGT. Whenever others could give it, I gave it, but when they were stuck, when I could think of it, I always gave the idea and took the group forward. The next day, oh sorry, the GOR was held on the first day, and it was nice. Our group defeated repeaters also. And freshers had done very well, even from the lack of people who had good physical strength. Freshers had done very well because of the group vibe we were in. We were energetic and were clearly helping each other. I was not very good at it physically, so people had to help me to climb the wall and stuff. But I was participating open-heartedly in the GOR. Then the second day, individual obstacles, the command task happened, and the lecturate happened. For the lecturate, I didn't choose a very difficult topic. I chose a medium topic. I gave my speech really well, dividing it into parts. It was about IT, and so the good parts, pros and cons, and then conclusion, my opinion. I divided my 3 minute speech into parts, and that helped me a lot. After that, in the IO, I wasn't very good at the IO, I'd say. I was almost about to fall from the commando walk, but I didn't fall. Do all of them. The GTO practically gave me extra time in order to do them because he wanted to check my courage. I feel that I would make the Tarzan jump and the Tarzan swing and the jumps and all or not, which I did at the end. I had to repeat double ditch and some of the like walking obstacles in order to do them because I didn't learn them in the first. Even my fingers were greased and my hands were bleeding after the IO. It wasn't very good. Even the groundsman, after I got recommended, told me that I wasn't very great, but he told me the GTO must have seen my other things and other tasks and recommended me as a whole. After that, my interview was held on GTO second day, and my interviewer was the president of 32 SSB board, a brigadier. He was a very jovial during the interview, and he relaxed me as I was a fresher. My interview was almost completely PIQ based. Very little he asked about general knowledge and stuff. He asked about India, Nepal, as I told it in the during the current affairs that he had been asking me. So, but I couldn't answer an in-depth question that he had asked me during that. So I just told him I don't know, sir. But PIQ was a Bible for me. PIQ based interview completely, I would say. After that, I was honest all over my interview. I had written everything truthfully in the PIQ, and that helped me a lot. By the day of the conference, obviously, I was a bit nervous. I messed up a little in my conference also when they were asking about the people who had become close friends of mine. I accidentally said my own chest number during that, but it was okay overall conference. And then after that, soon the result was declared and I was recommended.
That was interesting, Ankur. Now I request Parun if you can also share your experience of 5 days so that our audience can get better knowledge.
So my SSB was on 31st of March 2022. So I went to the 31 SSB Kapurthala. The reporting was of 72 and the 30 screening. And during my screening, firstly coming to the OIR, the first OIR that was the non-verbal was very easy, but the verbal was quite difficult. So verbal was quite difficult, but after I discussed with the other friends there, they also found that difficult. So I was relaxed that it is difficult not only for me, it was difficult for all of us. So then I shifted my focus and completely focused on the PPTT. That was the next test. So we were shown a picture of a boy of our age only, and he was writing something. And in the background there was a background of some type of class or examination hall. So I made a story around that the student is preparing for JE, how he prepared on the examination day, what he did, and how he cleared his doubts, and how he built up his core concepts and all that stuff. I have written, and in between the writing a story, I have SSB Kapurthala, there is a quiet time that is given to all of us before dividing us into the groups and taken for the discussion. So in that meantime, I keep on memorizing my story in my mind. So in the narration part, during my narration, I went very well. So as was my prior experience in the GD in the SSB Allahabad, I could not speak very much. But this time I have done much of practice with one of my friend. This on the online meetings after the I have came from the coaching. So firstly, we were the group of the screenouts plus repeaters was also there in our discussion group. So it has to be a fish market, and so it happened. So our assessor divided us into the group of 7 and 8. So this led to me an advantage, as in the group of 7 I can participate much better than in the group of 15. So initially there was a fish market, so the assessor divided it into the two parts. They, in our subgroup, we came to the conclusion to a story, and the second group, they also come to the conclusion of story. But when the whole group again amalgam, the group could not come to the conclusion. But the assessors finally said that we have understood your story. So I was also confident, because this time I have participated much better than the previous time in my subgroup, and also done my narration very well. So as a result, I was screened in. As I told, out of 72, 30 were screened in. So the very next day in the early morning, we wake up and went for the psychology test with a free mind. Firstly, there was a little bit of nervousness, but I managed, and I managed to make my cool. So with my psychology test, firstly I was thinking that how we will sit for the 3 hours and we will only write things. So it will be very hectic. But as soon as you get to the psychology test, you came to your consciousness only when the psych test is complete. You will have no sense of the time. Uh, 3 hours will pass. You will not know that how this time passed. So I remained myself. The stories that came in my front, I tried to remain as close as to reality and what has happened to with my life and with my experiences. As I have already practiced many word sets, so I was good at writing all the 60 words. In the SRT, I was able to write only 38 SRTs, as I was also some type of elaborating them. So it took me some time. And the ST I have prepared myself and also memorized it. So I wrote it in the time. So according to me, my psych test went pretty well, according to me, because the final result only the psych knows. So after that, my second day was free because I have my interview on the third year. So sorry, third day. So the next day it was our GTO. We went to the GTO grounds, and the first task was the group discussion itself, GD1 and GD2. I have to mention that our group of the in the GT was very good. I say very excellent group, as everyone was giving chance to every other person present in the group. Everyone was speaking one by one. So we all were able to put our views in front of the group, and all were able to carry out a very healthy discussion. And our GT also praised our group that I have never seen this a group like this that is very cooperating. So our GD1 and GD2 went very well. After that, there was a GP. So as Ankur has discussed that we have practiced many GPs at our coaching. So I was at ease on in doing the GP, but in the discussion part, I was not able to participate much because till that time group has become some type of more hasty. So I could not participate much in it, but all went good. In the PGT or in the ground tasks, we have a person who was very good at the ground task. So actually, along the or around the all the ground tasks, he was the one who lead us to the PGT. But there were the quiet moments when the group stuck. So I went up there. I have my idea, so I implemented it and took my group in the front or in the through the task. So similarly, after that, there were the individual obstacles and the GOR. They all went very good, as most of the person in our group in the GOR were very healthy, and we did in the GOR very well. In the then coming to the IO, as I have already strained my ankle during playing the volleyball the previous day, so I was not very much able to do very well in the IO. So I did only 8 IOs. I was stuck at the screen jump, so I fell down 3 to 4 times into the sandpit there during the uh, screen jump.
Adding a thing
So I was
here, even I couldn't do my screen jump. I couldn't do it. I
yeah
tried it twice. I couldn't do it.
yeah.
It was
So
the only obstacle I couldn't.
Yes. So after that, during the next day, we have the IO, lecturate and command tasks. Lecturate, command tasks, and the FGT, I think. So for the lecturate, I have prepared for the geopolitical or the country's relation topics from back from my home. So luckily, I got a topic on the Quad. So I have also interest in knowing about the various developments in the geopolitical arena of the world. So I was very much comfortable in speaking for the Quad for the 3 minutes. After that, we have the command task. Command task for my was of medium difficulty. So I also was able to do it. And then the FGT, all group come together and we cleared through the FGT. Then on the same day, that was on the third day of the SSB and the first day of the GTO, I have my interviews was scheduled just after the GTO task. So I changed my clothes attire and went for the interview. I was a bit nervous because it was my first official interview at the SSB, and my interview was taken by the additional IO. I am not able to recall his name. So firstly, I was nervous, but he made it easy for me by relaxing me. But eventually, I also messed up the sequence in which I have to answer the question. So I was again went some bit of nervous that I have messed with the sequence, and also he roasted our whole group of the persons who's he have taken the interview. He roasted all of us on our favorite subject and the hobbies we like. He mingled both the concepts. Like my favorite subject was physics, and I like to go for cycling. So he mingled up all these concepts, and he was calling the name of the cycle, different parts of the cycle that I have never heard of. So I said, "Sorry, sir, I don't know anything about it." So he roasted a little bit us on there, but the rest of the interview went well. And there was another of my hobby that I like to know about the various defense technologies that are being going on through the world. So he asked me to name any five, so I named them pretty well. So at last, I think he was impressed with me because of this thing. So this was how my interview went on. And after that, there was the conference. So in the conference, as my name is not usual, you may have the read the name of the person as Varun, Tarun, but my name is Parun. So in the conference, my name was discussed for almost 5 to 10 minutes, and after that, they said asked the usual questions: How was your stay? How was your food? And they said me to wait for the results. And as a result, out of 30, 12 of us were recommended. As I've earlier mentioned, that our group of the GTO was very good. So out of the 8 persons in our group, 6 were recommended, and that 6 were screen outs. So this is the benefit of being very cooperative with the group.
Okay, that was nice to listen from both of you, your experience. Now I will be asking some questions that's a very general, and there may be the doubts of many defense aspirants are preparing for the SSB. So like if I start with the PPDT and like stage one, it is sometime as being now you all get recommended whenever you go, you will be the repeater, you will maybe called. So it becomes a fish market. That is very usual. So in your view, how can we overcome that situation? Because you are trying to give your ideas, but the group is not ready to listen you because everyone is just shouting his her stories. So what do you think? What we should do if we are in that situation?
Parun, I feel you should answer this. You have done more in GDs than I have.
Yeah, okay. So in the repeaters group, it is obvious that everyone was aiming to get in the to get screened in. So everyone would speak up or try to put their views forward. So eventually there will be the fish market. So to counter the fish market, first is that they all will be speaking throughout the GD, but there will be some point of time when they will take some rest or some stoppage in the putting their views forward will be there. So you have to take that to your advantage to put your views forward. And also, GD is not always about speaking or spitting only your views. It is also about listening the other views. So in my another SSB which I have given, so the other candidates were only speaking, and the two of them were not speaking; they were only listening. and they only spoke about only one point, but they were screened in and all other were screen out. So it is not always to only to speak your views or tell your views. It is also about the composer and how you listen to the other candidates. So it is the other etiquette. So you have to use your mind at that point of time, because every GD have a different scenario. So you have to accommodate there according to the situation. So if you are getting the opportunity, or you can make an opportunity to express your views, then you should, because it is good for you. But if none of them is speaking, they are not even having a break, they are generally speaking and not speaking some material or the some what we say those thing. uh, so you may keep your calm, listen to them, and whenever you get a chance, you may put your views forward. So this is how these are the my views that how we can tackle the fish market.
Adding a bit here, I would like to say that in the GD of the conference, sorry, the GTO task, there are 2-3 points that are just must. Firstly, I'd say that sticking to the topic, in my view, is very important, because people flounder from the topic. They speak about gibberish that is not related to the basic topic. Listen to the topic very carefully and the leads given by GTO. You do not have to generate your own lead. Just pick one lead of the GTO and just stick to that very hardly. Also, do not get irritated when people are not letting you speak. It shows in your eyes, it shows in the way you move your body. And if you get irritated, the GTO will always notice. And as Parun said, always search for the right time. And starting the GD, I would like to add advice that I got from my coaching. If you know all the leads of the topic very well, wait for a minute and then in each start participating in the GD. If you know only one lead very well, go in the GD at the first, because other will speak about that lead and you won't have points. If you have a lot of points, wait and check for the lead who has the least number of participants. Go in that lead, because you will get to speak more there. If a group is of 8 and everyone is choosing, about 5 people are choosing just one lead, you will not be able to speak in that. Choose a lead which is only 1 or 2 speakers if you know about that. If you don't know about it, don't choose that.
Like I will directly start from GTO because site test and interview have explained to much more. And so I will think GTO would be important for us. You know, in the PGT, it happens many times that you have given a task, but you don't know how to overcome it. You don't know idea at how to perform that. So if that kind of situation occurs, if it has occurred with you also, so how you have overcome that, or what you would like to advise others?
In the If such a situation arises, the first thing I would like to add here is that be active in the group. If you do not have idea, no problem. But if you're not active in the group, that is the cardinal sin, I believe. You can pick up weight, you can help others tie the rope, you can help others keep the plank, but you have to indulge in the group very much. Second is sit back and observe. You have to see the obstacle and what you can do. Basically, it is all about putting the plank in most of the obstacle. Find a place that can act as support, find a place that can act as stopper. If there is one of these, you have to generate the other with the help of a bully or a rope. It is all about the game of a fulcrum, and you have to generate support and stop. Simple principle. Another thing is, it is a very practical advice given to me during my coaching. Wherever the paint during the of the obstacle is a bit rugged, you have to do something there, because it is not painted after every batch. If the paint is not very well there, it is a bit rugged. It is a hint that the solution lies there.
What is your view, Parun?
So as the Ankur has already mentioned that if we do not have any idea, so we must not be ignorant for the group that we have no idea, so I will not do anything. So you have no idea, you no problem, but cooperate with the other members of the group. Those are giving the ideas. You can pass them the bully or the fata from the back. As the Ankur has mentioned, you can carry the load, or you can cooperate with them, because I have seen some of the person that if they don't get the idea, they say all the group is moving in one direction and they will say that I will move from the other direction. So this is hindering the progression of the task. So you should not do that. You should cooperate with the group and always keep observing the obstacles. Even if you are at the back, keep analyzing the task which the other person is doing. So you will definitely get an idea, because that, and this is not a some type of rocket science. This is, as he already mentioned, we have only to place a task. So this is all based on a one principle, that is the cantilever. So if you keep observing, you will definitely get an idea. Or in the worst condition, if you are not getting, keep supporting the group. Do not become ignorant for the group.
Means directly or indirectly you should be active in the group, either as a helper or as the leader.
Yes.
So like most, I would be also advise you all that whenever you are going to SSB, you can use YouTube and other sources, because there are many academies which upload video online, so you can have a fair idea about the structure as well. Because like Ankur was fresher, he has taken the coaching, but for those who have not taken any coaching, so it would be difficult to analyze the structures. So it would be better you use the available resources that you have and perform better. So now going ahead, like after that PGT becomes HGT, then command task. So a group is going getting half and half, and at last at the command task we are alone. Sometimes it happens that you are the only member in your group who is called so many times. On the other hand, it may happen that you are not called so many times. So that kind of situation occurs in our mind. Because I was in my SSB as well, I used to think that somebody is not calling me, that I will not get recommended. The situation like this occurs. So what do you think? If someone is not calling you so many times, it is going to in any way harm you, or it is quite normal, neutral?
So I have, so according to me, it is some type of neutral. It does not much affect the group, because in my group there was a person who was not called any of the time, but he was recommended. So this shows that he have performed very well in the other task. So, but it also shows some indications that you have not very much mingled up with your group. You have not very good tuning with your group. But I think this accounts for a small portion of your assessment. There are other areas in which you can perform very well and still you can recommend it. So as I have already mentioned, our group was very cooperative. So we have previously decided, or the predominantly decided, that we will call each other at least one time. So we called each other on the rotation basis. So as the result, all of called at least one time. Yeah. So you may, if so, this all comes to the one condition that if you have mingled with your group, you can influence them, or you can influence them that whether you called or not, it is some type of neutral. Because I have seen a person who was not called none of the time, but still he got recommended. But as I have already mentioned, that our group was cooperative, so we have predominantly decided that we will call every member at least one time. So as a result, everyone was called at least one time. So there are many other aspects of the assessments in which you can perform very well to get recommended. This accounts for only small percentage of your assessment. And this if but if you have the very good interpersonal skills, you will have a great bondage with your bonding with your group, and the group will listen to you, and then that we should call everyone, or give everyone a chance to come as a subordinate. So this also shows your interpersonal skills. So you should always try to get along with the group, talk to them, talk about the experiences, so that you have a good tuning with your friends, and as a result they will definitely call you, because the person with whom you have interacted with have a sense of bonding with you.
Okay. One more thing I would like to say, with Parun has mentioned, sometimes like we are going for the GTO, it is a third day when you are having your GTO. Most of the people we make the mistake that we are not listening what the commands and the instruction that GTO has given. I think that also makes a big mistake for some persons. Like it is usually told like the red is not allowed for stuff. Like you on the right, if red sign is there, red color is there, you cannot move, you cannot touch it. If blue sign is there, only you can go there. Your material can't be touched. Sometimes it happens that we are not listening what the instructions the G2 has given earlier. So it would be like it should be must or mandatory that you listen. Times happens. You are making mistakes and mistake again and again, but you are not aware of this. It also puts a negative impression on the GTO. And there is interesting thing that we have seen many times. GTO used to wear goggles. It is usually told us GTO wears goggles on his eyes, so you can't see his eyes, but he is watching everything. And it also happens if you are doing any mistake, GTO will say, okay, it's good, 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 go ahead. And if you are doing good, GTO will say, no, it's not good. So it's just for
Yes,
a
yes. We were asking about the ground touch, that there are yellow and blue lines and red lines. So what if we touch them, and what are the penalties and what are the various things we have to keep in our mind so that we can't do the same mistakes again and again?
Uh, the rules are very simple there. The red can't be touched, blue can be touched by you, but not by the material. White can be touched by everything. If you break a rule, the GTO obviously notices. Sometimes you do it because you've not heard the instructions, so hear the instructions, please. And sometimes you do it ignorantly. You are not actively doing the thing, but it's a mistake on your side. So GTO may point out, as in my case, GTO did point out I was breaking a rule. I was keeping the fatta on the blue while I was holding it. So GTO said, gentlemen, one of you is breaking the rules. So I immediately noticed myself that am I breaking any rule? And then I picked up the fatta and kept it on my foot. And as I stood on the blue, and then the GTO called out, gentlemen, who was breaking the rule? I raised up my hand and said, sorry, sir. I acknowledged my mistake there. So that is also important. JTO notice this thing that you do take responsibility for your actions or not.
I would like to ask, like, when it comes to group plan exercise, we know what should be the solution, but it matters a lot because GTO is after all going to see what you have written. It is one case. So what do you think? How should we write the solution? We know what is the solution, but how should be the sequence of the solution? I would like to listen from you, Parun, then from Ankur.
So, according to my point of view, GP is all about that. If you have basic common sense, and how can you organize your things or the ideas you have. So, in the GP, there is always that we have to prioritize the things. There will be some silly things that we have to do, like the some type of the animal is not coming home, or there is something sort of that. And in the on the other hand, there will be the risk of the life of the thousands of the person, like a bomb has been planted on the train bridge. So we must have a common sense that the life of the thousands persons is very much important than the animal coming back to his owner's home. So this is the thing. So I think that every person have that much common sense, so we must be some type of aware of that thing and should take account of that. And then coming to the organizing part, everyone has a different type of or the template or the template of writing the things. Like I firstly prioritize the things, then write the resources, and then divide the groups and name the group in the different parts, and then separately mentioned about the group A's work, group B's works. And some person also do like this thing that they make lines and they then make the group A, group B, group C. So this all depends on you, which suit you, and uh, whether in with that template you are able to write the solution in the 10 minutes in effective manner. So this is all about the GP.
I would say, like to say here that when we are writing the solution, the first thing is that we should identify the problems. There are usually four problems. One, as Parun said, is danger to life of a lot of people. Second is usually danger to life. And second and third are usually we are similar in terms of danger. There are either collateral damage or sorry damage to things like a bridge is going to collapse or like this, or danger to life of a single person. So we must identify which is more important there. And the fourth is usually a distracting problem that must be done, but not immediately. Then there are resources, two type of resources: the hidden resources and the apparent resources. Apparent are the ones that are clearly mentioned in the story. Here also, I would like to say that read the story very carefully, but during the time that is given to reading the story, start thinking about the solution itself also. Because you've heard the story, you've read it also once, and people do read it again and again and again, and they waste time. which can be utilized for the solution, and they are not able to complete the solution in time. So keep that in mind. Also keep the time in mind. Each solution must follow 3 to 4 basic points. How many men were used? What was the problem? How was that solved? What was the mode of transportation used? What was the actual time by which the problem will be completed? Actually, I would like to add here that keep always the time, that what time are you, what time the problem will blow up, and how much time is it required to solve the problem. Understand the scale of the map very well, because that is very important for understanding the time indeed. And then keep in mind the final restriction time also. And after solving each problem, particularly how many people were there, what were the resources used, what was the manpower used, write that in detail, but as precise as possible. It should not miss any important point, but it should not be lengthy and grammatically accurate. It should be in crisp language. You can follow the table ideology, that you are making table for everything, but that I didn't personally like. I followed the ideology, as Parun said, write about the problems, write about the resources, write about the solution, and then at the end, write about your final meeting point, and that we'll meet all here and go accomplish our, like, go back to school, as in many GP problems by this
I just
time.
look at it. Like we have many of our audience, including Krishna. Would you like to ask any question? Deepak Yadav?
Yes, bro, I want to ask.
Yeah, please.
Okay, bro, I want to ask what should be kept in our mind during written in PPT. What actually we have to put so our story should be very impressive in front of accessor. What should be kept in mind so that we can write a very good story, so that and also means our outcome should be positive, negative. Very much confusion about is there is a negative. If there is a negative situation, then we can how it should is there we cannot write a negative, or if you try to convert into positive. That type of confusion I have, so I please try to solve this, try to speak on
Thank you,
this.
Krishna. I would like to add here that whenever we are writing story, there are very important fundamentals to be kept in mind. Story is not like modern novel story writing, that it is simple problem solving, problem and then problem solved. No, the process that we both adopted, Parun and I, as we are from the same coaching, we were told the same things. There was that observe the background, and then observe what is the setting, who are the characters. Then ask 3 to 4 fundamental questions. What are the people doing? Who are the people, first of all? What post can they have? What sort of nature then they have? Can they be student? Can they be policemen? Can they be railway inspectors? What can the roles be assigned to the people? That before that, identify your main character. Who will be your main character? Story must have only one main character and name only him, as it avoids confusion. After that, ask the question that what can the main character be doing? That gives the story its purpose, or the main thing, the action. And the conclusion of the story is that the action will be done. The main part of the story is the actions done to basically achieve the objective, the purpose of the entire story. Story is roughly around 10 to 12 lines. The first 2 lines should be used to introduce the main character and empower him basically. Suppose the main character, we can introduce like his name. Rahul was a student of class 12 and the leader of the SSB club of his school. Simple. Now we have empowered Rahul as the leader and also established and named him. And do not beat around the bush in the introduction, as it will cut short your actions. Your actions are the main part of the story. Suppose the problem is that he has to organize this meeting with a guest. So what are the actions that he will take? That he will first of all like invite who is the guest, and then he will tell stuff. He will prepare the time. He will invite people. The resources that have to be used if it is an in-person meeting, like renting and all. After that, if it is an in-person meeting, then he has to generate food and all. So these are the actions. These actions are the heart of the story. These actions should always deem Rahul as an hero, not in the literal sense, but as a positive human being who is generous and compassionate. His actions are basically your reflections. And whenever there's a negative sort of a thing reflected in the story, as in my case, it was that a man and a woman were sort of arguing, as it was apparent in the picture, and a man was pointing like this to the woman to out of the house towards. So the first thing that clicked in the mind was they were arguing, and the man was saying, "You get out of my house." But I was, I should not write this. I knew it at that moment. So I thought, what is he practically doing? He's pointing. Okay, what can he point? He can point at something that is coming from far away. Is it a person? No, that doesn't seem. It is an animal. Yes. So I made a story around that he was pointing to an animal. First of all, I didn't establish them as husband wife. The man was an outsider, and the animal had been strayed away. The cow had been strayed away, and he was pointing that your cow is there. But first, I established actions before that. The cow came grazing to his field. He identified that it is his friends from another village. He gave it food. He gave it nursing as it was a bit injured. He then tied it to a tree nearby and then went to call them and then gave them away. Also, at the end of the story, do not, I feel, seek the prize as well. Like, if it is a competition, the emphasis on the protagonist or the main character of the story after the competition has ended instead of being like he got this prize. It should be like he was fulfilled and he was happy that he was won or something like that, not the monetary aspect of it. Another thing would be that always ask this 3 to 4 fundamental questions that will give you the story as the answer. What are who can be my main character? What can my main character be in terms of his empowerment? He can be a student, an actor, a policeman, or whatever. What the purpose of the story? And in the end, that will be achieved at the end of the story. And always the main fundamental thing is that your image should be a very heavy part of the story, not like in terms of length but in terms of the impact. It should not be like blood donation. Suppose a person is running, he's running to do blood donation. Suppose a person is laying down, he's laying down to do blood donation. It should not be like that you memorize one story and try to put it everywhere. It should be like the story should seem relevant to the prompt, that is basically the image. Also, keep in mind that whenever the image is first shown for 15 seconds or whatever, the people, whenever the image is gone, the first thing they start to do is they start to write. They don't know anything about the story, but they are going to write, but they start to write. And this is very lethal, according to me. The first thing that we must do is think, and whenever a story is ready in our mind, take a minute, do not write, think about it, and then start writing the story. Story can easily be completed in 2 to 3 minutes if you have the story in your mind. Putting it down on paper is not very difficult. The difficult part is having the story in mind. I completed all 12 of my stories by this ideology. I did all of them, and I wrote at least 8 to 9 lines about each of them. About the blank story in the psych section, I would like to say that it should reflect a happy moment from your life. If it is a happy incident, just write it as it is. The story should not have a fundamentally very big problem to be solved. It can be about general things also. And put actions in that story. Actions are the story that make your story the best. As in my case, I wrote a blank story about a group of people going to a picnic after their 10th boards were over. So I added points like the protagonist, the main character, asked other parents for their permission. He booked the tickets. He brought snacks, and they went on hiking. So he cooked himself Maggie for them and stuff that is nominal, but establishes the main character as a good person. At the heart of it all, your main character should be a good person.
Okay, I think Krishna, you have got the answer to the question.
Okay, thanks, bro, for giving us such a detailed explanation.
Now I request to both of you, please give answer in short, Chris, because we are running out of time. So next, coming to like our interview part is left. Many times, like you both have also taken the coaching. So Ankur, as much I remember in RSSB, you have been asked the question. that whether you have taken a coaching or not. Some people say we have not taken, some say we have taken, some say truth, some say don't, we have not. So they are basically lying. So in view of both of you, what should be the answer? We should speak the truth, or some small lies are allowed in the interview as well? Please be short and crisp about this.
Yeah. According to me, we should not lie because you are not doing any crime or some type of things. You are just going for coaching to be aware of the test or the what type of, because whenever you prepare for some type of examination, you do solve the previous year questions. Because but here for the SSB, we do not have that type of thing because it is not like other examinations. So we go to the coaching to get the exposure. Like we both went to coaching, and my sole purpose was to become more social because the process of the SSB interview, we all have the very much material available on the internet and every person can access it. The main thing is being social, being interactive with the group. So I don't have the exposure, so I went to the coaching for that thing. So you should not lie because you are not doing anything wrong with that, according to.
I would agree with Parun here completely because I would say that the assessors are very experienced and they can recognize that you have taken coaching. Easily they can recognize, especially the GTO. He can easily tell that even which institute you have taken coaching from. He is so much experienced. So do not lie about it. I feel like that in the whole interview also, I would say that I'm of the personal viewpoint that we should not lie about things, but we should also not be stupid enough to accept the truth that is clearly harmful for us. We should not try to please the interviewer also, but don't be stupid enough to tell everything as the truth. But regarding the coaching, I would say that I personally told the truth. Yes, I took coaching at once.
Means you are accepting that you should be have a good reason that should be acceptable. So now
Yes,
second time
and
yeah.
so I was about to say that, as Ankur has mentioned, that we have to be true, but we don't have to be some type of Harish Chandra. That we have to portray that we are only the most truthful person ever being lived on the earth. So you must also try to remember in the general things you must say the truth, but in the some condition, as the Ankur has mentioned, that you are saying that if you say the truth, it will harm you. So do not, what we can say, do not initiate that thing, because some persons have the what we can say, have the condition or the state of the mind that they try to pinch the things or the pitch the things to the interviewer. As the interviewer is very much experienced, so he will make a mole out of the hill so of that thing, and interviewing officer keep the flow of the interview. Do not try to be oversmart.
This happens also.
Yeah.
This, as Parun is saying, this happens a lot when people lie about their hobbies. People have no hobbies and then they write which hobbies are perceivably good in the eyes of the interview, and they don't know anything about those hobbies. And then the interviewer will ask things because he has to ask questions and then you're silent. So that makes a fool out of you. So write about hobbies. If you don't have hobbies, it was simply stated to our coaching, make hobbies. It will take 2 to 3 months, generate new hobbies and write about them in the PIQ. PIQ for freshers especially, I feel, is the key of the interview. It is the Bible of the interview. Every part of the PIQ must be thoroughly assessed by you. What kind of questions you have to brainstorm it, that what kind of questions can the interviewer ask, what will be my answer to them. You need not memorize the answer, but you should have a general outlook that if he asks this, suppose I participated in this competition, what can he ask out of this? I know this is my hobby, what can he ask out of this? So that should be generally brainstorm. I did it personally with my father one night before I went to the coaching. Sorry, not coaching. One night before I went to my SSP, and that I feel helped me a lot. Also, I would like to give here an example that I was learning driving, and my GTO asked me that how do you go to school? I said I go in the car with my father. He said that why don't you go in bus? I said him that I learned driving while I'm going to school. So he told, "Is it legal?" I said, "No, sir." Then he asked me that why do you do this if it is illegal, and how does your father allow this? I told him that it's the morning time and we don't go on the national highway and it's not a crowded road, it's an empty road, and I need to utilize my time also, well as I don't have time because my schools are going on and my plus two is going on with everything going on. And then I could justify myself in that situation. So that is the key, I feel.
Okay. Now my next question is to Tarun. Sorry, Parun. Parun, sometimes it occurs like many people ask question. English is compulsory in the interview, or if those don't have good English, so how should be? Yeah, it is many times said for the interview. But there are many students who are from village background. They can understand the English but can't express them. So for them, in short, what you would like to recommend them, what they can do so that they can overcome this problem if they are having their interview nearby.
Yes. So I am also belong to the village background, and this was also the state of condition with me that I could understand the English but could not speak it. I think if you can, what we can say, if you can understand the English, then you have also the potential, or you may speak the English. But the thing you lack is in practice. So I have a bhaiya who was preparing for the CDS. I used to do online meeting daily with him, one on one. So we used to prepare the one topic of the lecturate. So for the lecturate, we used to deliver in front of each other online by making the eye contact. In this way, I have dual benefit. My lecture topics were also prepared and my English was also improving. So this was the thing I used to do. And also you may watch the English movies, English content, whichever thing you like, because more of which thing you like and the thing you want to get or want to understand, you have to get those things in your surroundings. That if you are preparing for some competitive exam, just watch that type of videos on your YouTube or on the social media, then your feed of the social media will be filled with that type of content, and you will have very less distraction, and you will always be focused or have that thing in your mind that I have to prepare for this thing. So this was the for my thing, that when I was preparing for the NDA exam, so much of my YouTube feed was filled up all this. Some teacher is teaching the geography, some teacher is teaching some maths. So this all helped me to keep focused, and in this way you can also learn the English. Firstly, you can get a person, because there are the many online groups that are there on the WhatsApp, on the Telegram. You may have a contact with some of the other fellow who is also preparing for the SSB or have the problem in speaking the English. You both can help each other. You may have the online meeting. You can participate in the online GDs that are being held daily. So this will all boost your confidence, because if you can understand English, then you can definitely speak the English. The main thing is your fluency, and you have not speak the English before. So that is the thing that is hindering.
Okay, so overall, if we can say resources are available to us, internet everywhere. Only need is to put action and grab it. So lastly, I would like to audience, if you have any question, please ask to both of our speakers. They are here. Anyone, Karamjit, Krishna, Anu Yadav, there are lots of audience. Please ask your questions.
Good morning. I have one question.
Good morning, please.
I don't know whether this question is covered or not because I arrived late. I'm very sorry for that. So
Feel
I
free
have a
to ask.
question regarding stories that we write in the TAT or during the screening test. So I am basically, when I read the stories, it's like it's very simple. Wow, I can do that. But when you actually do it, your mind turns blank. So what are your tips for the beginners?
Ankur, please you answer this question in short.
In detail, I covered it, but in short, I would like to say that observe the picture very carefully. It is your prompt. Ask the questions: who is my main character? What can my main character be, as in a policeman, a student, or whatever? Then ask the question: what can he do? what are the actions that he can do that will give you the purpose of the story or the main part which is to be done in the story. After that, write the actions which are needed to achieve that goal. And Snehal, Shubhankar, answer your question later. Uh, the thing is that when you are writing actions, 4 to 5 actions are needed in the story. Choose the people you are familiar with, choose the protagonist you are familiar with. You do not choose a doctor if you do not know anything about a doctor. Choose a student, choose the people around of your age, and then write about them. At the end, write about the feeling that the main character had after he had achieved his goal. Keep it very crisp, keep the introduction very small, and then keep the ending very small. Put emphasis on the action. That will make a good story. And your picture is the main thing there. Your picture is everything. The story should be related to the picture. Thanks, sir. Shubhankar had asked the question. Parun, can you answer it? What to do if you don't know the answer of the complicated questions asked by the IO? The thing that I would like to say here that if you don't know the answer, do not try to extremely bluff because the interviewer will grill you on that. But if it is a simple thing, you can tell a lie a bit, but that all depends on the context. If you know nothing about the situation, just please say, sorry, sir, I'm not aware of that. In this, just the IO will obviously proceed to the next question. As for the question that Snehalata asked, just give me a second, I'll read it. My question is that some interview asks question that we can then can we say to them or take a few minutes for answer? You can take a few seconds, I would say, not a few minutes, obviously, because it is a 2% talk. You cannot sit silently for a minute. You can take a couple of breaths, think in your mind, and then the answer, obviously. But Parun, can you tell about one of I think that this is an important thing. Parun, according to you, what was the thing that was common in all of the 20-30 recommended candidates that we met? We both have seen a lot of recommended students, and what was the most common thing among all of them, according to you?
According to me, that they were focused or aligned for the things that have to be done at that time, so they know the priority what we have, that what they have to do. We can take the example of the Ankit, that how mischievous or how jovial person he was and how notorious he was, but at the time of the interview he was along with me in my group. He was very much focused, he was very much aligned for the task, he put his 100% efforts, he was very cooperative. So, in my point of view, this was the most common thing that I have noticed among the days we spent in the during our medicals, that all persons were very cooperative and
Regarding
they knew
Ankit,
the, yeah,
yeah, please, please.
yeah, yeah, they know the priority what have to be done at what time. So that was the
Regarding
thing.
Ankit, as Parun said, he was very mischievous in our medical time, but very focused. But one more thing was about him that he was very good at art. Uh, Parun also and me also, we had very great friendship and very great social bond. The people who are recommended are general in the same also in the real life also that they are very good at art. This is the one thing I personally noticed. And these are the qualities of the leader that they have in their general life, and you can see that. I knew a student from Parun's batch, Avnish, and he got 447 or 450 marks in his SSB. And he was very great at friendships. We were very great friends. Parun knows him very well. And we could see it in him whenever we met him that he deserves to be recommended. Another thing I would like to tell you that I personally watched a video on YouTube, Field Marshal Sam Manek Shaw's lecture on leadership. A 1 hour video that is, I think, the gist of what a leader should be. Every point of what a leader should be is covered in there. The best video, I think, from YouTube. What do you say, Parun?
So, Ankur, we have another question. How have you answered this question? How to start doing the physical activity to meet the physical fitness standards?
No, not yet. Please.
So please, I myself don't have very much good physical standard. So I think
That
I am
is
not
my case also.
very much.
But as Ashokan
but
sir said,
according, but
from our
yeah, according
coaching,
to me, in SSP, physical fitness standard is of not that much consideration because there
not
is
that
training
much.
for this purpose. Yeah, but you must have the basic physical fitness that you should not be obese because it will hamper your performance. You must
I
be
feel like
simply
in IO, we should have the stamina to run 3 minutes, the hand strength, and the leg strength. These three things are enough. We can do running, push ups, and sit ups. These are more than enough, around 50 sit ups if we can do. Even 10-20 push ups are also sufficient to do the IO. I couldn't do 10 push ups when I went for my IO personally, but that led to my fingers bleeding. In
according to me mental.
SSB, more
Yeah, please carry
emphasis
on.
I feel is on the mental part rather than the physical part.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to make that point. I was also going to make that point that mental stamina is more important because in the psych test you have to write for the 3 hours. So you have to, and also in the interview you have to think from your brain. You have to think or analyze things that what thing you have to say and what things if you say may hamper your performance or may hamper your result. So you have to be very selective at that. So all that needs a mental stamina. And but physical stamina and mental stamina are somewhat related because if you are physically fit, you may have a sound mind. So that mind will be active, or when you need it, it will be there to help you. So the basic thing you can do the running, as the Ankur has mentioned, it will also keep you physically fit and your mind working well.
the next question has come up in our chat that what should we do if we cannot execute command task? I feel like as command task is at the end of the GTO series, GTO gives you command task based on your performance in the PGT, FGT, HGT. GTO sees your performance and he gives you what you can do. I saw that in my case and others' case, I performed well in my previous task, so he gave me a more difficult command task. It was a task of a circle, and you had to come out from the center. It was that oriented, and he asked me a lot from this approach. This approach, he asked a lot of questions, and I did that. If you are not able to do, then you must practice your GTO Fattaballi skills. Because if you cannot do your command task that has been given by the GTO to you based on what he has seen in your performance, that means that you require more practice in terms of your Fattaballi and your basic concepts of like fulcrum, support, stopper. You need to do more examples, more groundwork.
Yes, and if in SSP you are not able to do the command task, then leave it and do the arrest what we is there and task. Then do the FGT and then enjoy that day because whatever have to be done has been done. Then just enjoy because that will be cherished for a long time. So in the SSB, if a task is done, just leave it because you can do or reform anything in it. So this is simple thing I want to
As
say.
William Shakespeare says from the Macbeth, what's done is done. Simple. Next question is come up, and that is a we are not the best people to answer it. How to get fit in medicals? We both are unfit in our medicals. As for our medicals, do not worry about your medicals. It is not in your hand. And just focus on the
Yes,
SSP. We cannot
and
do anything about our
don't
medicals.
yes,
Okay.
and don't think anything about your physical fitness that it will hamper in the medicals because as Ankur has mentioned, it is not in our hands. We were physically fit, but the point from which we got out was not in hand, or even we don't know about it. So it will be fine if you only focus on your SSP and the written part only. So medical standards are not that much high
Medic
that they will do anything or the very big thing. They
no,
require basic fit. Yeah, basic
medicals
fitness,
are
but
also, I feel, Sorry, medicals are also, I feel, variant from service to service. For army, they are different. Air Force, they are different. From hospitals to hospitals, it varies. Medicals in Bhopal are not as same as medicals in Kapurthala. We cannot say anything in general about them.
Okay, I think most of the questions have been answered. Technology. Thank you all to be here, and future we look forward to have a such interesting session with you. Thank you so much to be here.
Lalit, thank you for inviting both of us. It has been a pleasure. Thank you, Lalit.
Yeah, it was a very good interaction after a very much long time.
Keep up the good work, Lalit. You
And
guys are
thank you all of
lucky
you,
to have someone like Lalit with you.
and thanks to audience as well to be here with us. And we are looking forward to clear your doubts if possible. We will share with both of our speakers through the text. So if you have any doubt, you can send us to our WhatsApp group. So thank you all of you for joining us. Thank you so much.